by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Will Saudi Arabia face sanctions in connection with a missing journalist? I'm John Schuma with what President Trump had to say during an interview with 60 Minutes.
And bow hunters near Livingston get attacked by a grizzly bear. Coming up, the man that was attacked tells us how his partner saved his life.
Just ahead of 6:30 here on this Monday, Chelly and Missy O'Malley with you. Matt has our forecast in a moment. Our top story this half hour. During a wide-ranging interview with 60 Minutes, President Trump commented on the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Now, the president promised severe punishment if Saudi Arabia is responsible. John Schumo reports from New York.
Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi's disappearance may lead to an international standoff.
There's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake, and maybe especially so because this man was a reporter. There's something, you'll be surprised to hear me say that, there's something really terrible and disgusting about that.
Khashoggi was last seen entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, nearly 2 weeks ago. During an interview with 60 Minutes, President Trump promised severe punishment if Saudi Arabia is implicated in the case. But he is arguing against economic sanctions to preserve a $110 billion arms sale to the kingdom.
Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, all these, I don't want to hurt jobs. I don't want to lose an order like that. And you know, there are other ways of punishing, to use a word that's a pretty harsh word, but it's true.
Saudi officials call the allegations baseless and thank the U.S. for refraining from jumping to conclusions. Others on Capitol Hill, though, support a tough stance from the U.S.
I can just tell you that in Congress right now, there is no pro-Saudi element that's going to stick with our relationship with Saudi Arabia as it's currently structured. If, in fact, they lured this man into this consulate, killed him.
The Saudi stock market plunged after the president's promised tough action. John Schumo, CBS News.
Now, a Turkish government official says it has video of Khashoggi entering the embassy but never coming out. Therefore, it is up to the Saudi government to prove that he is alive.
Yeah, interesting. I do know that Turkish officials are getting a chance to get into that embassy now, but it's been 2 weeks since the journalist disappeared. So we'll continue to follow that. More coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS this morning.
Absolutely.
Parka, coat.
Yeah, gloves.
Warm up the car.
Are you telling me what I need to wear?
No, I was just reminding you what you missed.
Yeah.
I just reminded you what you missed this morning. Yes.
Yeah. Temperatures remain very cold this morning. We still have some snow on the ground. That's keeping things a little refrigerated out there. West Yellowstone's the deep freeze, 9 degrees in west, most of us holding into the 20s early on. We do have a little bit of cloud cover that'll be in place today. Temperatures into the mid to upper 40s, maybe low 50s for a few areas, but it's really later in the week that we're seeing the temperatures start to skyrocket. We'll talk more about what you can expect this week coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Matt. 6:32 now. A man bow hunting near Livingston attacked by a grizzly bear Saturday, currently recovering at Bozeman Health Deaconess Hospital. Bob Lagasa and his hunting partner Greg from Idaho have been hunting in this area for 10 years. They were approaching some elk when a sow grizzly and her cub surprised them from about 12 yards away. Lagasa didn't have enough time to reach for his bear spray.
Basically, she dropped me on my butt, and I was, basically kind of fighting for my life with my arms and kicking and, pushing away as she was, trying to get closer. And then luckily, Greg was able to react so quickly and get his bear spray out and spray the bear to stop any sort of damage. Because if it would have been, I think, any more than 2 or 3 seconds, I think I would have been a lot more chewed up.
Now, Lagasa did tell us that he will need surgery before he fully recovers.
Wow, quick reactions. That's incredible. And a female inmate being held at the Butte Silverbow Detention Center has died. She was found unresponsive by detention staff on Sunday afternoon. Now, this is currently under investigation, and the woman's name is not being released at this time.
Also tonight will be a very busy night at City Hall in Bozeman as 3 city plans are being presented to the City Commission. MTN's Medeiros Bab finds out the reasoning behind the city's heavy workload.
3 special presentations concerning affordable housing, the downtown improvement plan, and Bozeman's growth policy fill up most of the City Commission's agenda. Executive Director of the Downtown Partnership, Chris Nauman, says this heavy workload gives the city a vital opportunity.
While it is a lot to take in, I think there's some synergies and some opportunities to have larger conversations and really, again, take a more holistic approach.
The first of the 3 presentations will be a 6-month update about affordable housing by Matthew Matson and Marty Matson.
Just to keep that communication going, make sure that that the commission and that the public and the citizens understand what we have gotten accomplished and that there's a lot more work to be done.
Matson says this work includes keeping up with the growing demand, working on a needs assessment, and hiring a new affordable housing manager. Community Development Manager Chris Saunders says the city is about halfway through the process of establishing a new growth policy, which will in turn affect other planning documents.
They share some similarities of issues, and so we want to coordinate between them where we can and ensure that by the time that there's an adoption, there's a consistent vision for the community that can go forward and respect the various needs and aspirations of the citizens.
City staff say they did not plan to update all of these plans at once, but it was simply because there is a need for the departments to have guidance moving forward. In Bozeman, Medeiros Babb, MTN News.
Now, Medeiros tells us the downtown improvement plan and the growth policy are both scheduled to be updated within the first few months of 2019. Also in other headlines, a former Malmstrom Air Force Base commander recently spoke with civic leaders about the importance of upgrading the Minuteman missiles. Retired General Tom Deppy says the military is long overdue in motorizing the land-based missile system and the nuclear triad. The Air Force is currently working on the ground-based strategic deterrent, which will replace the Minuteman. Deppy says the upgrade will not only boost the local economy, but will secure our deterrence.
It is the last resort. It's the backstop of everything else our national security policy is based on. And for years, it was somewhat overlooked because we had Iraq, we had other things going on, and we still do. But there comes a point where you've got to belly up to the bar and realize that, you know, we've got to maintain this because it is the most important mission we have.
Now we're told it will be another 2 years before the final contract is picked, several more years before work will actually begin.
And Alpacas of Montana hosted their 15th annual open house, and thousands of people from all over the nation attended. Attendees were able to feed, pet, and interact with the alpacas. The event brought in about 6,500 people last year, and owner James Budd says this year the company only saw about 3,000 people, but that was because of the weather. He says one surprise this weekend was the birth of this baby alpaca.
It was a little bit nerve-wracking because it was done on the snowbank, and so we call this guy Mr. Snowfur for now because he was a snowfur baby born inside of the snowbank, and his temperature was really low, and he's doing great now though. He's super healthy.
It looks like he's getting a little bath from a mama bear. Now Bud is holding a contest of his Alpacas of Montana Facebook page where one lucky winner will be able to name the new baby, taking away the name Snowfur. That's
absolutely
very cute.
Adorable.
Yeah.
I love that. Meantime, we're going to shift gears. The debate between grass-fed and grain-fed in the cattle industry divides many ranchers and consumers. In this week's Under the Big Sky bonus video, Zachary Jones walks us through some of the fundamental differences between these two practices.
Under the Big Sky is sponsored by Rocky Mountain Vein Clinic and Markovich Real Estate.
I was at a restaurant in Lawrence, Kansas. One of the specials was a Kansas City strip. I asked if it was grass-fed or grain-fed. The server said, I'm actually not sure. And I said, no problem. I'm hanging out for a while, you know, just when you get a chance, ask. I'd appreciate that. This guy sitting next to me, he's like, grass-fed beef is nothing but a huge marketing ploy. Grain-fed beef is way better. Like, whoa. I explained that we have a local artisanal grass-fed beef company we have for 10 years, and I've managed ranches, you know, in Florida and Montana and South Dakota and Hawaii and New Zealand. And it's not that I know everything, but I'm pretty informed on the topic. He was like, I think I came on a little strong. I'd like to actually hear a little bit more. I started with something that's pretty much unarguable. Cattle, or large ruminant animals, have evolved in this world to eat grass. And not just grass, forbs and legumes and trees and brush and scrub and you name it, that's what they're meant to eat. Grain-fed beef in a feedlot situation, they may only be eating maybe 5 different plants. On Two Dot Land Livestock here, we probably have 250 to 300 different species. The diversity of plants that these animals are eating creates a more diverse mineral and nutrient profile in the meat, and therefore healthier for you too. Also, grain-fed beef has more unhealthy fats in it, especially if consumed all the time. So we had actually a decent conversation, so that was good. Now it'd be great if we had an opportunity to have discussions like that with lots of people. I think we as ranchers, especially holistic thinkers, we have an obligation to have those conversations when they come up, but do it in a way that doesn't disrespect or make a judgment.
Now you can watch all of our current Under the Big Sky stories online at underthebigsky.com. Easy to find.
Always a good idea to have a good debate with a good way to talk it out.
Absolutely true.
Learning something new from somebody else. I love that. It is time for a quick break. In a moment, we take a look at some of the takeaways from the Senate debates.
But first, here's Bianna Goladrigo with a look at our headlines coming up at 7.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, journalist Jamal Khashoggi has been missing for nearly 2 weeks. We'll talk to former CIA Acting Director Michael Morell about what happened and how Saudi Arabia may be punished if it did order his killing. And music legend Tina Turner tells us why she doesn't miss performing and why the women in the audience were more important to her than the men. We'll see you at 7.